Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., all rights reserved.
Jesus just left Chicago, and is back for New Orleans.
That's Billy bringing us back. That's Dusty on bass and Frank on drums. 17 till the hour. I'm Jim Blasingame. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. This is me on backup vocals. And please check out my website, smallbusinessadvocate.com. We're having a great visit with our good friend David Gage. He's a partnership expert. He and his partner, Ed Kopfer, buddy Ed Kopfer, do this for a living, among other things. David's book is called The Partnership Charter, How to Start Out Right with a New Business Partnership or Fix the One You're In. David, thanks again for hanging out with us. BMCassociates.com, is that right?
BMCassociates.com. Sort of short for business mediation and collaboration.
There you go. You guys, and speaking of mediation, you guys just got back from one where you put together, or helped put together, a startup focusing on the equity, I guess, positions of 5 members of a startup that was highly funded, well funded by someone else's money.
Yes.
And so how did that why did they need you guys?
Well, there are so many questions that need answering when you're starting a business with partners that people who are starting a business by themselves don't really need to ask. So one of them, it has to do with who's going to do what, their roles and responsibilities. Right. How are they going to govern the company, make high-level decisions, not just the day-to-day sort of thing.
Putting together a 2-person partnership is a mess. I can't even imagine 5 starting out with 5.
5, I can tell you that the dynamics among these 5 were so fascinating. There was one guy who was really the founder. There was a wonderful, intelligent woman who was so loyal to the founder. There was no question. She was offered a certain percentage, and it was the lowest among the 5 of them, 4 of them being guys. But she was fine with that. She didn't really care about the percentage. She just wanted to be part of the business, and it really looks like it's going to take off. But the other 3 guys who were coming along, they had kind of an alliance among themselves. They worked together closely, and they weren't happy about the size of their equity interest that the other fellow was offering them. And, there's that question of what's fair, what percentage is really represents.
Right. Were the 3 of them offered the same thing, each one the same thing?
They were actually offered slightly different things because the guy who was starting the company thought they had made different contributions, and they had different skills. And so
they weren't prepared to accept that.
They were not, but not because the 3 of them were being offered different levels of percentage, different numbers, but because they didn't think theirs was big enough compared to the founder.
They thought he was holding out on them.
Yes. Yes.
Now, this is a startup, folks. This is a brand spanking new. Does this business even have any revenue yet?
It does have some clients. It has some clients, and very importantly, it has a few $1 million in backing from a very wealthy backer who.
So these guys are. This is sounding like the Facebook story, isn't it?
It's very similar.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
So what do you guys recommend?
Well, that's what's interesting, Jim, about what we do is we tell them we're not going to take sides and we're not going to come in like experts and tell you what to do. We're going to sit down with you and help you guys hammer it out.
You're going to help them do the math for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what did you tell them?
Well, the key to this mediation among these almost partners, who were all very young, the oldest one, Jim, was 32 years old. So it was a different kind of group of partners.
These are millennials.
Yes, exactly. But the key to this was for 3 of them, for 2 or 3 of them, the percentages were tied up in their self-worth.
Right.
the numbers 12%, 15%, didn't feel like the guy was valuing them enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a higher view of their value.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the other guy was taking a very pragmatic, very business-like approach. So there was that.
Well, and then the founder could say, "Okay, guys, if you got a better offer, go find it." Now that would be one instinct to do, but apparently he was smart because he brought you guys in, because you don't want to start a business where they say, "No, I don't have a better offer. I'll just go to work, but I'm not happy about this."
Correct. That would not be
so you want to get so you got to have somebody like you guys to come and help them out. So what did you wind up doing?
Well, we helped them to look closely at what they were each contributing. And first, even before that, we asked them, what are your interests here? We understand about your position, 15%, I want 20%, but what's your interest? Why are you really doing this? And that was a very fascinating discussion.
So it wasn't so much that I'm not happy it wasn't that I'm not happy I'm only getting 12%. It's that I'm getting 12 and you're getting 15. That's the problem.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So
and that's a guy thing.
Oh my gosh. It did seem like a guy
That's
thing.
a guy thing. There's no question about that. There's a term for that, but I won't use it on the show. But that's a guy thing, and I think it is more of a guy thing than it is for ladies. And I'm not surprised that the lady I don't think she was being passive. I think she was just being reasonable, and pragmatic. And not being a pain in the you-know-what.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, hold on to that thought. We're going to come back and wrap this up, folks, with our good friend David Gage. This is fascinating, folks. You can learn so much. If you're starting a business, if you're bringing on a partner, you can learn so much from David and his partner, Ed. Quick break, 10 till. Stay with us.
Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., intended for the private use of our audience. Except as otherwise provided by copyright law, all other copying, redistribution, or publication without prior written consent is prohibited. All rights reserved.